Welcome, Bills Mafia, to Bills or Bust, the podcast dedicated to all things Buffalo Bills. I'm Tom Murphy. Join in as we talk about the Buffalo Bills, of course, and also the other 31 teams in the league that will watch us win the Super Bowl or bust. Hey, welcome, Bills Mafia, to the Bills or Bust podcast. I'm Tom Murphy. And before we get started with the festivities today, I absolutely need to send my thoughts to the city very dear to the show and also to my heart, Buffalo, New York. The nationwide storm this country experienced this past weekend affected them the most, to the point it's been considered one of the worst in the city's history, which, if anybody who knows Buffalo, they've had their share of snowstorms. And to say this is the worst one is speaking volumes. So, it's a tough time, not out of the woods yet, and everybody in Buffalo stay safe, and our condolences to all of those who have been affected the worst, and the best of luck to those still trying to make it out. So joining me today is a very special guest, a good buddy of mine who actually helped me get my start in the sports talk business. He's the host of the Pigskin Pundits, where I was his Ed McMahon. Please welcome the master control operator for Encompass CBS HQ, Mark Ferraro. Mark, it's a pleasure to have you on.
Tom, like you said, man, this is like back in the day with the Pigskin Pundits. I can't really thank you enough for having me on the program. So happy to join you and talk some ball today.
Hey, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you, Mark. Yeah, we had quite a time. I think did you debut that show in 2011?
I think it was 2011, maybe 2012, but going back to when we first saw each other in November, it's been 10 years since I saw you. We watched the first Bills-Jets game. So, yeah, man, definitely happy that you texted me, wanted to jump on the podcast anytime. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm just thrilled as punch to have you. And, we had such a great time up in Stamford, Connecticut, watching the first Bills-Jets game. Of course, that one went more your favor.
It did.
But, I know. It's like, hopefully we'll have better luck the next time we face each other or watch in person, but I'm sure you disagree with that notion.
Hey, it could be in the wild card. You never know.
Absolutely. Well, I'm hoping we get the number one seed, of course. But, hey, out of all the other three teams in the division, you know widely that the Jets, disgust me the least.
Yes, so. I do. But obviously, we'll get into all those playoff scenarios very soon. But yeah, looking forward to it, man. Like I said, thank you for having me on.
Oh, yeah. And just to go back a little bit to our show, the Pigskin Pundits, which was on Blog Talk Radio back like 10 years ago. Remember, at first we started as a call-in show, and we had a lot of fun times on the show. But one story in particular that we both remember and we recounted the last time we talked was we're doing the show, and all of a sudden I just hear this just tirade of obscenities.
Yep.
And I just have like no idea what's going on. I even thought it was you. And, they're one of the most even-keeled guys I've ever met. And I'm just like, what did this guy like stub his toe? I mean, it was like, just like off the charts, like crazy. And then there was a few F-bombs. Unfortunately, with Block Talk Radio, we were unable to screen callers. So when someone did call in, I just had to take a shot. And unfortunately, that did happen. But, we let him go very quickly. But, yeah, it was always great doing the show, whatever time, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, even a couple shows at midnight. It was always fun, always a pleasure. And, you were a great co-host, man. I can't thank you enough for all those years, hopping on with me and breaking down all the big games. Oh man. Oh, it was so much fun. And we did it for quite a few years and seasons. And it'd be fun now that our teams are a little better. Our biased predictions of each game would be a little more believable than we were when our teams were, fighting for top 10 draft picks.
Yeah. And you know what? One thing that I wish we can go back and look and see how we did. One of our shows that we always did was mock drafts, like 2014, 2015. I just want to go back and hear about, Patrick Mahomes, he was never going to be this good, or this player and that player. Like, I just want to go back and see the results just based on that and how bad our analysis was.
Oh, that is absolutely something I would have said about Patrick Mahomes back in 2017. And I'd have to say I don't think I've ever been more wrong about any pick ever. But
Yeah, no,
I
of course,
remember
Tom. You were always right there.
yeah, breathed a sigh of relief when the Bills traded that pick. I'm like, oh, God, thank God we can't draft him. It worked out in our favor, but for a while there, it was just like, well, we could have missed the ball, but we're very pleased with our choice, and even more so, perhaps. And yeah, I do think that caller that we were talking about, I do believe that was the last call-in caller that we had.
Yeah, I think that gave me even some hesitation moving forward that, maybe these callers that were calling, I should not even bring them on. Don't want to take a chance like last time. So, yeah, we didn't get that many calls, but of course, that was the story that stuck out the most.
Oh, yeah. I was waiting for something like that to happen. And moving on, now it's time for your Buffalo Bills minute recap. After narrowly escaping the devastating impending storm and landing in Chicago a day early, the Bills widely escaped a sluggish offensive start to wallop the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field 35-13 on a freezing Christmas Eve afternoon. Despite losing the turnover battle 3-2, the fierce rushing combo of Devin Singletary and James Cook is the story of the day as they led the Bills to their third consecutive AFC East Division crown. So, as you remember on last week's show, I offered a trivia question dealing with the season record for Bills receiving touchdowns in a season. Stephon Diggs currently has 10. He's one away from tying the Bills record. Mark, do you have any guess on this one?
Well, you know what? I got to go with the first guy that came to my mind. No surprise, Hall of Famer Andre Reed.
It's a very good guess, but no. Very trick question. Andre Reed, Eric Moulds, definitely the most popular answers we had out there. The answer is actually in 1996, Billy Brooks, of all people, had 11 touchdowns in a season. It's a record that has stood for coming up on 26 years. And yeah, Diggs has so far two seasons in a row with 10 receiving touchdowns, but has yet to even tie the record. And he has 2 more games to do it, so we're rooting for him.
I'm pretty confident he's going to do it, especially in that big matchup on Monday night, I believe, against the Bengals.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're probably going to have to throw the ball a lot on Monday night against Cincinnati in a very important game to us. Also, Diggs also has a pretty good history of coming through on fantasy championship weekends, which is coming up this weekend. Fantasy championship weekend means absolutely nothing to me this year. Across the board in all 3 of my leagues, I was just atrocious. How are you doing there, Mark?
Yeah, in our league that you're in with me, I had probably one of my worst drafts ever, drafting Alvin Kamara and Swift. Just terrible. And on top of that, drafting for a second consecutive year, Kyle Pitts. So as I told you before, I'm never doing that again.
I know, yeah. Pitts is definitely, it's one of those guys, like, he looks good on the field. You think like, oh, he can get stuff done. It just doesn't translate to fantasy success. And I was in 3 leagues, missed the playoffs in all of them. A big one across the board. I drafted Dak Prescott, and, he's starting to come on now, but missed like the first 6 games. So at that point, it was just too little too late. And
now, what did you do when Prescott was hurt? What did you do with their quarterback situation?
I was actually able to get Geno Smith, who, despite having like a great season all around, he never really had any real standout fantasy performances, as opposed to like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, who consistently, if they get less than 30, it's considered a disappointment.
I hope that continues on Sunday, of course.
Oh, absolutely. It's for your sake. Jets play the Seahawks this weekend. I think it's a very winnable game. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Kind of speaking of, brought up earlier, my bias towards the Bills, and you're way more objective than I am when it comes to these things. You do have a little bit of bias, but I've always considered you a fair guy. Buffalo Bills right now, 12-3. Would you say they are overachieving or underachieving at this point?
No, I would say right now, I think they're right where they're supposed to be, I think. I know, Josh Allen earlier in the year had his struggles. And I'll tell you, like you mentioned, the 2 games against the Jets, he looked pretty pedestrian. Like, if you look at his numbers, especially passing the football, they weren't that great. And the first game, he turned the ball over a few times. One of them, obviously, to Sauce Gardner. The second game, even though you guys won 20-12, his numbers weren't really that great. Don't get me started on the CJ Mosley 4th and 1. I don't want to talk about it. that was terrible. Everyone knew they were not going to snap the ball, and he jumps like Bobby Boucher. So I don't want to talk about it. But no, But listen, I think one thing that you mentioned though in the game against Chicago, the running attack of Singletary and James Cook. If you guys can get that now consistently moving forward, I know it was against the Bears defense. I understand that their defense against the run is not very good, but now moving forward, if those two guys can run like they did, that's only going to help you guys, because what was one of the biggest things early in the year everyone talked about? The Bills have no run game except for Josh Allen. Well, at least for one Sunday, you had two guys perform extremely well.
Oh, no, that's exactly true. And it's so funny. There is that, I watch every single game and people are always saying it's like, oh, they can't get the running game going. I mean, it is true. But if you look at Cook's and Singletary's numbers for the year, they're like yards per carry average is definitely above average. We're just finally starting to like mix the running game in. It does seem we are such a pass happy team. And we just do so many designed runs for Josh, which, great as he is, those designed runs they really make every single muscle of my body just twitch, because I just know just possibly, I can't even think of it, but something unfortunate might happen. While he is tough as nails, it's just still a lot. But yeah, it was just great to see both running backs this weekend just really, really come through. I'm like thinking, I've been a Bills fan, coming up on like almost 4 decades. As long as I can pretty much remember, been a huge Bills fan. I would have just given anything, like let's say 2016, the last year of the drought, for the thought of us being 12-3 at this point in the season. Just seemed like completely like a pipe dream. Like, I just want to be in the hunt for the playoffs, make that one game. Fast forward 6 years later, we're 12-3, and I almost feel like we've underachieved. And it's completely unfair to my team. But I just know, despite being 12-3, I just see all of these things that just need to be worked on before we start playing the cream of the crop in the playoffs. You mentioned the Bears defense being kind of porous. Watching, right in the beginning when they start announcing the defense, I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy when it comes to football, but I felt like the guys in the beginning of the movie Major League, where they're looking at the Cleveland lineup, they're like, who are these guys? I was seriously like that with this Bears D. So I'm thinking, it's funny, I think, we're going to put up like 35 points at least. And we did get the 35 points, but it was kind of a struggle to get there. We were moving the ball down the field, but then there's Josh Allen. Obviously, I love the guy, but there is just something. 5 plays a game, you think this guy's the best quarterback in the league, maybe the best quarterback of the past 10 years. And then you just see him like hit a Bears linebacker in the numbers, inside our own 20. It makes me just cringe thinking like we just cannot have that moving forward. The games are only going to get tougher from here on out. But then I wonder, am I being a little unfair?
No, I was going to say that because looking back at Allen's numbers this year, he's been more prone to the turnover than I think in past years. I mean, we saw him against the Jets throw 2 picks. And obviously in this game against Chicago, had a couple of turnovers as well. I think that's been one of the things you see is that sometimes maybe just he's trying to do a little bit too much and you just make you let him make these throws. And like, what is he doing right now? But obviously you guys are in good hands. I know maybe a little more turnovers than you're used to seeing from him, but I think all when said and done, you guys are going to go match up with the Chiefs, and the main thing is to get that number 1 seed, definitely get the home field, and watch those snowballs if we see any snow in January.
It is so funny, yeah. Like mentioning that, as much as I want the 1 seed, I mainly want it for that first week bye, and then it makes everything easier, like going forward. You play the last remaining seed. And then you get home field for the AFC Championship. I was joking with a good buddy of mine, Drew Guthrie, who's a big-time Chiefs fan, where I'm like, if there was a way we could just trade, make a deal right now, we get the 1 seed, the first round bye. But if the AC Championship comes down to Bills Chiefs, we can play it in Arrowhead because we absolutely know the weather we're going to get in Arrowhead. It's going to be just pretty much cold.
Yeah, you guys beat them last 2 years in the regular season. And of course, last year, what happened in that championship game was obviously unfortunate, but I think it was a learning experience for you guys. And I think to go back there, it's not going to happen again. And I think your times now, I usually never pick favorites. As you know, all the years on the pundits, I'm not really, going with the favorites for like the Super Bowl champs, but I think you guys right now are clearly the favorite. even though I'm a big fan of the Bengals and what they're doing recently, I would say I would give you guys the edge right now.
As good as I know the Bills are, it always just warms my heart to hear a Jets fan talk about how good the Bills are. So I do appreciate that. That's a nice little Christmas gift to me. I do appreciate it.
Well, of course. I mean, listen, if the Jets get in, I'm not going to have 2009 vibes. Right? Hey, maybe the Jets can win a couple games. I mean, of course, hey, you never know what can happen, obviously. But no, I think you guys are right there. Like I said, I think it was definitely a learning experience what happened last year. And especially if you guys get home field for KC to go on the road potentially, I think you guys will be fine. And I like your chances.
I know. It still should be known. Patrick Mahomes has yet to play a playoff game on the road.
Oh, that's unbelievable, man! What a stat.
Aside from the Super Bowl, of course, but in the AFC playoffs, it's just remarkable. And but also as much as we love playing in Buffalo and everything, this year has taught us that you never know what to expect from Buffalo weather, and it could just be like an absolute, we think like, oh, bring on the snow. But when you get like a devastating storm like this, that can just be all bets are off. We know we can match up very well with the Chiefs in a somewhat reasonable weather environment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the environment, you guys will be just fine, I think. Like I said, it's going to be interesting because I know you mentioned on the last podcast that you were doing that the Chiefs' schedule obviously is a lot easier as opposed to you guys because your game coming up with Cincinnati is very huge. You want to win that game. But for my concern, I just want to make sure you guys are still playing for the number 1 seed, Week 18. So in case Miami does not beat New England this week, that you guys will do us the favor in Week 18. But listen, it comes down to the Jets obviously winning those last 2 games.
Oh yeah, that's a huge thing. You definitely have to. You definitely have to do your part. I've learned that in seasons past. It's like you root so hard for another game, and then your team disappoints. But yeah, you guys control yourselves there. Miami seems like they should beat New England. We'll see about that. But yes, we're going to do everything we can to help you guys out. That's pretty much our motivation right now.
Yeah, more so you got to do it. Come on, you got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And, and the Chiefs, Chiefs have the Broncos next week. Who they almost lost to the Broncos a couple weeks ago, but the Broncos just look lost. So yeah, it's like with us. We'll get into this a little bit later, but yeah, the Bills they just need to keep going. For now, definitely. I'm just assuming Chiefs are going to win out, so we just have to do our part and. It will be interesting to see what the Bills do against the Bengals. But moving on to want to talk about, our matchups. Granted, we haven't played each other in 2 weeks, but, your team moving forward and how it relates to the Bills, I would have to say our 2 worst offensive outputs this season were both games to you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier in terms of those 2 games. Yeah, Josh Allen didn't really look that great. Now, in the second game, the one in Buffalo, he did have some big runs. I think the Jets gave up like a 3rd and 19, which was ridiculous. Obviously, Josh Allen doing the hurdles and everything. But the Jets defense has been good in the 2 games against Buffalo. And listen, I think if Mike White, he got hurt in that second game, of course, the first snap, Flacco comes in the game, fumbles the football, changes the whole complexion of it. And when the Jets actually were driving late in the 4th quarter, the big fumble by Michael Carter, and that was pretty much all she wrote.
Oh yeah, no, it's it was like definitely a different story for you guys offensively. I do have to say though, for everybody who's been giving Zach Wilson so much grief this year, he was one of 3 quarterbacks to beat us this year.
Yeah, he was good in that first game, the one at MetLife. He wasn't really that bad. Now they didn't ask him to do too much. But what he did, he was fine. Didn't turn the ball over. Oh no, I think he did once actually. He fumbled. Yep. But no, and then he threw a touchdown pass to James Robinson, who's been inactive the last few weeks. But no, he actually did pretty well in that game.
Oh yeah, and I think I commented while we were watching that game that he was just getting the ball off at a like insanely rapid clip. It seemed like he had that ball for less than 2 seconds, and that little just crossing pattern to Garrett Wilson was just working like clockwork for you guys that day.
Oh, yeah. Garrett Wilson, definitely the most targeted Jets receiver this year. Broke their single-season rookie record for receiving yards. Of course, passing Keyshawn Johnson. Yeah, he's been a pleasure to watch. What a draft pick by Joe Douglas. Obviously, the entire draft this year. But especially finally having a true number 1 receiver like the potential, obviously, from the former Ohio State Buckeye, Garrett Wilson.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's kind of a long time coming. You guys have drafted a lot of wide receivers over the past decade
The
plus.
the
And
Bills killer, Stephen Hill.
Steven, oh yes, that's right. That one game, man. Ooh, that was something. And yeah, and it also with the Jets, looks like you guys are going to possibly have two Rookie of the Year winners. And I'm going to have to look to see the last time that happened that it came from the same team.
I think it should be the case, especially defensively. I mean, Sauce Gardner. I mean, he's having a better rookie season than Darrell Revis. Remember, it took Revis. I even told you when we met that day. It took Revis a couple years to really get going, and for Sauce
Sure.
Gardner to do this in his rookie season. And how about a couple weeks ago in the game against the Lions, which they lost? Jared Goff did not target a pass near Sauce Gardner the entire game as our rookie.
Oh yeah. Oh well, we're past the point of saying like he's the best rookie cornerback in the NFL. That's even the argument. Is he the best cornerback in the NFL? I mean, you definitely have people still want to make the case for Ramsey. Surtain is definitely up there, Darius Slay. But it's almost feeling like next year there may not be a question. My boys, the Bills, we got to get through these next few weeks and the playoffs. But yeah, no, just thinking of like Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams having to face them twice a year for the foreseeable future is definitely giving me some pre nightmares already.
Yeah, and when you mentioned about the offensive rookie of the year, it's funny because if it wasn't for Garrett Wilson, there's a very good chance it was going to be Breece Hall if he didn't get injured.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just you had a grab bag of draft picks this year. I mean, Breece Hall, that was so unfortunate. Just injuries are just like I hate them when they happen on any team, anybody. I mean, this year especially throughout the NFL, injuries just seems to be like exponential than they ever have been in seasons past.
Oh, yeah, it's been insane. You're seeing multiple injuries every single week. And especially for the Jets standpoint, they lost Breece Hall and AVT in that game against Denver. And ever since then, at least record-wise, they haven't been the same since.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the Bills lost, week 2, Micah Hyde, ruining like possibly the best secondary tandem in the entire NFL. We've noticed Poyer's been playing fantastic this year, awarded with a Pro Bowl, his first Pro Bowl appearance. So congratulations to him. And, but I have been noticing even because Poyer's missed a few games, when with the both of them out, teams go deep on us all the time. That was just something that would never happen. Even Mahomes, for the past few years, who's one of the best deep ball quarterbacks, he would never throw it really further than 20 yards or so. So that's a huge miss. And then goes without saying, Von Miller, going out for the season was just, that was just a knife to the heart. He was having like just phenomenal season. But even since the Bills have not lost a game since Miller went out. The Bills defense this year has just been absolutely fantastic. They've kind of dropped from probably people saying they're like one of the best or second best. They're definitely in like a top 6 now, which speaks volumes of how well they've been doing since they've lost 2 of their absolute superstars on D.
Yeah,
and,
what was impressive in that game against the Chicago Bears is that Justin Fields, he didn't go crazy at all running the football.
Oh, yeah. There were a few times, I mean, I gasped any time he started to move outside of the pocket because I just know what he can do. But it's funny, the Bills have had relative success against, quarterbacks who are very strong at running. They can still have some success. Lamar Jackson, like he's never had one of his like 100-yard games against us because we usually have a game plan against him. It's usually the quarterbacks you are not exactly expecting from historically with the Bills who always catch us. I mean, Patrick Mahomes seems to like just run all over us for some reason, and he doesn't have that reputation at all. And actually, even going back even before this tenure, we had the worst luck against Blake Bortles running the football. He was the like furthest ever known from a running quarterback, but there were times where Blake Bortles had more yards rushing than he would passing against us. And I'm not saying like one game, it was like 3 games that he ran for more than 80 yards against us.
Man, that's a name from the past, Blake Bortles. Oh, we talked about him a lot on the pundits. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Probably like, this will be his breakout game. And, oh, yes, we absolutely need to get those relics. But and back to the defense, against Chicago. It was funny. The first drive, texting friends, Because actually the Bears' one touchdown was on the first drive, and they just marched down the field like untouched. Montgomery was averaging like 8 yards a carry. Fields went, I think, 3 for 3, and I was just saying, it's like, well, this is horrible. This is as healthy as our defense is going to get. And then the defense like got it going, and then the offense, started just messing up. Allen throwing incomplete passes, turning it over, and then finally got the running game going. So it's going to be very interesting. I know this team has the potential to be an absolute buzzsaw in the playoffs, but we have to see what team is going to show up week for week.
And it was good to see Gabe Davis get in the end zone too.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's he's kind of an enigma himself. Yeah, he got into the end zone. I think his seventh touchdown catch of the year, which is fantastic. Yeah, Gabe Davis. Like, I would not be surprised. I'm going to have to look this up. He might lead the league in drops. He has so many this year. However, we kind of give him a free pass just because he makes so many highlight plays. But it's one of those things, like he's going to have to minimize these drops going forward. It's becoming
like postseason, man. In the postseason, you cannot have this happen. No way.
I know. Hopefully, he channels his inner divisional round game versus the Chiefs, where he had 4 touchdowns, 200 yards. That's the Gabe Davis we want going forward from here on out. Speaking of the playoffs, which we have touched upon, we are 2 games away from the playoffs starting. Only 8 teams have been eliminated. There are some that are very, very close to being eliminated. Definitely start in our favorite conference, the AFC. Currently, our good old Bills, number 1 seed, with only by holding the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. Worst Bills can do after clinching the division is the worst seed they can get is 3, but that's real. It's a definite possibility considering the Bills play Cincinnati next week, who is the current 3 seed at 11-4, and that could be the difference for both of these teams going forward. And Cincinnati, they even have more to play for. They're still playing for the division.
That's right. Yeah, they are. And obviously with Lamar Jackson's injury, last 2 years now, he's been injured down the stretch of the season. So, Hundley starting, they won against the Falcons, but, obviously with Rither starting now, that's a game you're supposed to win. They took care of business. But like you said, the Bengals, man, they started off slow. People were concerned about, the hangover and everything, but they picked up the pace. Obviously, Burrow made some big-time throws in that game against the Patriots. For me, it was a little scary because New England almost came back and won that game. Too close for comfort. But at least Burrow, all the weapons he has, the running attack, everything. So, it's going to be one heck of a game Monday night. Definitely looking forward to it.
Oh, I know. And it's, there's going to be a whole slew of action on the Sunday before that game even happens. So it's actually, if the Chiefs do win, they do play Denver at home. It's going to be, at least for a brief moment, the Chiefs will be in that 1 seed, assuming that they beat Denver, a team that gave them trouble, not only just, I think, 3 weeks ago.
They do, but now they're going to be facing an interim head coach because before the show, they got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. Gone.
Wow, the former Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator of the Doug Marrone days. I did not even receive that update. So, it's great. I come onto my own show to receive news about the NFL.
That's right. Yeah.
Mark Ferraro is a gift who just keeps on giving, and it is so funny. I was talking about that just the other day, thinking this coach does not have another season in him. Like there's just absolutely a lot of times you say like, oh, you have to give these coaches, at least 2 years. This was not the case here. They went out, got Russell Wilson for this guy. There were like divisional title hopes with this Broncos team going forward. And it's like they did more than disappoint. They just absolutely crashed and burned.
Hey, especially if you make that type of trade for Russell Wilson, Super Bowl champion, you're expecting big things. And for him not to play well, he was injured as well. Just everything's been a total mess there. So we'll see moving forward what they'll do with the head coach position. I don't think they're going to go after Sean Payton because he wants to bring in as his DC Vic Fangio, who was just the head coach of the Broncos. So I don't think that's going to work there. But yeah, it's just been a total disaster for Denver this season. Just terrible.
I know. Yeah, I'm going to have to look at the possible coaching candidates, but it's probably a little too soon to bring in Colorado's hottest head coach, Deion Sanders, who's now taking the
right.
University of Colorado position. That would make my former alma mater very upset, but Broncos pretty happy. I think we're pretty safe on that. But not all looks bleak for Denver. I mean, at least with this bad season, they'll get a very, very high draft pick. Oh wait, that's going to Seattle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's
the draft capital they gave up for Russell Wilson. Man, Seattle, we joke as Jet fans because, trading Jamal Adams there, that allowed us to get not only Garrett Wilson, but Elijah Vera Tucker. But for them to get rid of Russell Wilson, they actually got a good package back for them.
Oh, yeah, and it's going to keep on giving, too. And especially when it'd be one thing. It's like, okay, but we have our quarterback of the future. Russell Wilson was a huge problem this year. It wasn't the entire team. That team has a great defense, and Russell Wilson was like beyond ineffective.
Yeah, he was just terrible. I don't know what it was this year. I don't think he got along with Hackett. I think that was probably a big thing as well. But yeah, just very disappointing because they have weapons too. It's not like they don't have any guys they can throw it to. Judy, Sutton, all those guys, but just a bad year overall for them.
Oh yes, well that's their problem. They can deal with it. But but going back to their coaching situation, the lack of draft picks, that's not gonna be a huge draw to the top candidates.
Oh no, not at all.
Oh yeah, but going back to the rest of the AFC now, very huge tight race in the AFC South. Got the Jaguars and Titans really fighting it out. The Jaguars are the ones who really control their own destiny there. They win out. They're in, something you wouldn't have thought a couple of weeks ago. And Tennessee, now they have to do this without Tannehill, their quarterback that's brought them to the playoffs the past few seasons.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville is going to have the edge. And remember, that's a Week 18 showdown against Tennessee, which is going to be fun to watch. But Trevor Lawrence, he's been playing great the last 7-8 weeks. Their defense with that big turnover against Prescott to win the game in overtime. But I think Jacksonville is going to win the division. I feel pretty confident in that. And and your boy Tannehill, you were always a big fan of him on the Pigskin Pundits. You loved him.
I loved him when he was a Dolphin. We had huge success against him, but we didn't have that greatest success against him as a Titan. We finally beat him this year, like beyond beat him. We absolutely annihilated him, but he got the best of us the previous 2 seasons. So, no, I can just say firsthand, it's very mixed reactions on Tannehill just from across the league. But without him and banking on Malik Willis, it's not looking good for Tennessee.
And they just lost to the Texans. Now, I know Houston has been playing better lately. They were close against the Cowboys, but you cannot lose that game at home against the Texans when you're trying to win a division. Terrible luck.
No, all the momentum seems to be going Jacksonville's way in that aspect.
Sure. Yep.
And and then looking at the wild card possibilities, Ravens still going for that division title, but they're one team that's already clinched a playoff berth regardless of that. And then it's just a complete mixed bag. You've got, the Chargers they're looking fairly safe now, but then it gets to, the 7 with Miami, who's lost 4 straight now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's as much as I love to see it. It's a little surprising. I still think this team makes the playoffs. They could, make some noise. That offense can click very, like when it wants to. Defense is a little suspect, but there's just there's no doubt. Like it pains me so much to give Tagovailoa credit. He didn't have a great second half yesterday, but he can get that. He can launch the deep ball, and like Tyreek Hill is he's going down as one of the best players in NFL history. This guy just does it all.
Yeah, for those two guys, obviously Waddle and Hill, with Tua and everything. But yeah, Tua had three fourth quarter interceptions in that game against the Packers. I mean, that was something that, listen, they're like you said, losing 4 in a row, can't have that happen. But as you know, I was always a big Chargers fan on our show. Always a big fan. Never gave up any difficulty in anything. But I think the way they're playing now, I think they'll find a way to make the playoffs, especially tonight. They'll play the Colts. I can't see them losing. Come on. I mean, for the Chargers, I know they lose games like that, but if they lose to Jeff Saturday, no way.
Yeah, no, like they seem to be riding high right now. And yeah, they'll be another tough team in the playoffs, assuming they don't have a complete and utter collapse. But then we have a whole slew of other teams fighting for that 7th seed, including yourself. You broke down the possibilities. You need to win out. You need a Dolphins win and a Patriots loss. Dolphins win in week 17, Patriots loss in week 18, with the combo of you winning both of your games.
Yep. So now with it's so amazing. Obviously disappointing with the way they performed on Thursday night against the Jaguars, but everything that had to go their way this weekend, it did. The Dolphins lost to the Packers. The Patriots lost to the Bengals. The Raiders lost to Pittsburgh. The Browns lost to the Saints. The Titans lost to the Texans. All that happened, and now all the Jets have to do is win in Seattle and win in Miami, and the Patriots either have to lose to the Dolphins this week or to your Bills week 18. And if the Jets do that, they will be in the 7th position. And I don't care. We play the Bills. We play the Chiefs. I don't care. I want to end this drought. It's been way too long.
It's a huge thing. It reminds me back in 2017, we ended up making the playoffs, not by us scoring a touchdown late in the game. It was by watching Andy Dalton beat the Baltimore Ravens with like seconds left on a 4th and 22, which was just absolutely unbelievable. And it was like a little bittersweet to not really control your own destiny to end a 17-year drought, but it was just important to get that huge weight off our back. And we had an off season the next season, and now it's been 4 straight years that we've made the playoffs since then, 5 out of the past 6. And it's just that drought is now a distant memory. And it's going to be, I do have a feeling that if it doesn't end this year, that drought for the Jets is probably going to end next year. As long as you can maybe get a little more power on offense, maybe figure out the quarterback situation. Right. If Wilson can really, come through, your defense, zero question about that. It's one of the best defenses I've seen this year. I could put it in the top 3 with, San Fran and maybe Buffalo. But
yeah, sure. Hey, and you texted me right when that Quinnen Williams play happened, because remember, he missed the game against the Lions, and you could tell his impact was totally missed. But the first possession the Jaguars had, boom, he hits Trevor Lawrence. Carl Lawson picks up the football. The Jets are at the 16-yard line. We're able to not capitalize. That was huge right there, not getting a touchdown. But the Jets have to pay Quinnen Williams this offseason, give him what he wants. Finally, he's becoming the player that we hoped for when we drafted him many years ago. But like I said before with the Nathaniel Hackett breaking news, Jet fans would feel a little more better now that Mike White has been cleared by doctors and will play on Sunday. So big news again right there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Mike White, he when he's not playing the Bills, seems to have some monstrous games. So that's a big boost for you. And I'm rooting for you guys, not only for your sake, but what you do has zero effect on us. So, yeah, therefore you have my full support.
That's right. And Buffalo's not involved just now. So absolutely. Root for the Jets. Hopefully we can get that 7th seed. But like I mentioned, they got to first take care of their own business. And don't forget, that Dolphin-Patriot game is at 1 o'clock. The Jets play at 4. So if the Dolphins beat the Patriots, the Jets know, hey, we have to win, and we're looking good. And then obviously they play Miami week 18. And who knows, maybe that game could potentially get flexed to Sunday Night Football.
Oh, it very well could. You also have competition with the Titans and Jaguars.
Right.
But going to be absolutely plenty of candidates for that one. Bills, Patriots, probably not. Might be a 4 o'clock game if it has home field implications. But, it seems like those are the teams mainly going for that last 7 seed. Seems like even more has to happen for the Steelers and Raiders and such if they haven't been eliminated. But, moving to the NFC real quick, the conference that just, it's whatever. For me, it's, I love football, but I just don't care what happens there. I think it's a weaker conference than the AFC. I think the 7 seed, even if it is the Jets, would give a good like in a Super Bowl would be good competition to any NFC team. Looks like Eagles are going to get the 1 seed. My preseason prediction was Bills Eagles, which seemed like a little bit of a wild card. At the beginning of the season, looking very strong now. So I'm sticking with that. Pretty much everything else. You got Minnesota at the 2 seed, kind of fighting off San Francisco, who again has clinched their division. San Francisco could be very tough in the playoffs with that defense. But what I think I really want to talk about real quick, before I get the 2-minute warning, is this kind of race in the NFC South with Tampa Bay winning last night, getting staying ahead of the pack in their division. But there's still some other teams there, New Orleans and Carolina, only 1 game behind, and it could be we could have that division with the team. We could have the playoff team with the losing record coming out of that division.
Yeah, my good buddy Sam Darnold, nice victory on Christmas Eve against the Lions. They face Tampa Bay this upcoming weekend in Tampa. But when all is said and done, I think Tom Brady will find the way that the Buccaneers will win that NFC South.
I do. I think so too. And I have been telling other people, you'd probably agree with this. Tampa Bay could go in as a 7-10 playoff team and end up in the Super Bowl.
Oh, they could. Absolutely. Yes, they could.
Yeah, that would be, and it would almost be the ultimate like Tom Brady story too. So, like where he, just squeaks into the playoffs with maybe his losing record, and then just destroys the rest of that conference.
I'm just concerned about their head coach, Todd Bowles. Not a fan.
I was about to mention that too. Yes, I remember your thoughts on Todd Bowles very well from years ago. Was the punt he would punt on 3rd down if he could.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I always love the punt. Always love the punt.
Oh yeah, and then the other teams face like other few teams facing that the wild card there. Got like the Giants seem pretty safe, and then it kind of seems to be a little bout between the Seahawks and Washington. I'm going to predict you guys to beat Seahawks, so I think we might actually get 4 teams from the NFC East in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even though I like the Packers' chances as well, they've been playing very well lately. I think Washington will find a way to win. I just like their schedule moving forward. They face Cleveland. Then they face a Cowboys team that has nothing to play for. Though we have seen Cooper Rush play well before, I do like Washington's chances. And that tie helps them to get the 7th seed.
Yes. And, with that, I'm getting the 2-minute warning from my producers here. So before we say goodbye to you, I'm going to give next week's trivia question. And here we got, who is the only Bill in history to lead the league in passing yards for a season? Entire history of the NFL, only one Buffalo Bills quarterback has led the NFL in passing in a season. Mark, I know you know the answer, but we have to give everybody else a chance to answer. So, yeah, you're free to answer on our Twitter page, which is @BillsOrBustPod. And once again, just like old times, Mark, it's been a pleasure, and I thank you so much for coming on.
No, dude, thank you so much for having me. You know you can have me on any time. I would love to do it. You know where to reach me, man. But thank you. I appreciate it, man. And all the best. And we'll talk soon, all right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and you are definitely going to be getting an invite. But thanks wonderful. Again. Have a great rest of your Christmas weekend, Christmas week. A Happy New Year. And we're probably going to be in touch within minutes. So
yeah, of course. Who knows? Maybe something else will break between now and then, of course.
Absolutely. So I bid you adieu. And to our audience, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. You guys are just the best. And again, to the city of Buffalo, stay safe. I'm thinking of you. City tough as nails, going to bounce back stronger than ever. All right. Have a great rest of your holiday week, and let's go Buffalo. Thanks again for listening to Buffalo Bills or Bust. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment, and let's go Buffalo. Buffalo Bills or Bust has been a Samurai Dinosaur production. Copyright 2023.